Less than 1% of the turmeric capsule in your cabinet reaches your bloodstream. One specific add-on multiplies absorption 20 times. Or pick the formulation researchers actually use. Here's what works. Curcumin is the active yellow compound inside turmeric. It's the molecule the studies are about. And it has a real problem. On its own, your gut barely lets it through. The 2007 review by Anand in Molecular Pharmaceuticals lays out why. Poor intestinal absorption, fast liver metabolism, rapid elimination. The 2017 Hewlings Kalman review in the journal Foods puts the bioavailability of plain curcumin at less than 1% of the oral dose. So when you swallow a generic turmeric capsule, you are absorbing a fraction of what's printed on the label. This is the gap every real formulation is trying to close. The first fix is also the cheapest. In 1998, a study by Shoba in the journal Planta Medica gave human volunteers 2 grams of curcumin alone, then the same dose paired with just 20 milligrams of piperine, the active compound in black pepper. At 45 minutes, blood curcumin in the piperine group was roughly 2,000% higher, 20 times the absorption from a pinch of pepper extract. Piperine slows the liver enzymes that clear curcumin and nudges intestinal uptake. It is why almost every reputable turmeric capsule today lists piperine or bioperine on the label. If your bottle doesn't have it and doesn't have one of the other formulations we're about to cover, you're paying for a compound that mostly never arrives. Now, honest framing. 20 times more of almost nothing is still not a lot. Piperine raises absorption from a near-zero baseline to a low but usable level. It is a real, repeatable boost. It is not a free ticket to clinical trial-level blood concentrations. For that, researchers built better delivery systems. First, the Phytosome. Curcumin bonded to phosphatidylcholine, the same phospholipid your cell membranes are built from, which your gut already knows how to absorb. On the shelf, it's sold as Meriva. In 2011, Cuomo published a crossover trial in the Journal of Natural Products with healthy volunteers. Meriva produced roughly 29 times the total curcuminoid absorption of unformulated curcumin at the same dose. Second, the Nanoparticle, sold as Theracurmin. The curcumin particle is shrunk to sub-micron size, so your gut can absorb it directly. The 2011 Sasaki paper in Biological and Pharmaceutical Bulletin measured roughly 27 times the plasma curcumin compared to plain curcumin powder at the same dose. Third, the essential oil complex, curcumin paired with turmeric's own oils, branded as BCM95. The 2008 Anthony pilot study reported roughly 7 times the bioavailability of plain curcumin. Fourth, the solid lipid particle, branded as Longvida. Curcumin embedded in a fat-based delivery matrix to survive digestion. DiSilvestro's 2012 paper in the Nutrition Journal used 80 milligrams a day of Longvida in healthy middle-aged adults and saw measurable changes in blood markers at a fraction of the dose plain curcumin would have required. So you have 5 options on the shelf: plain turmeric with piperine, Meriva, Theracurmin, BCM95, Longvida. 4 of those 5 are the formulations researchers actually use in clinical trials. The 5th one, plain turmeric powder with no piperine and no formulation, is the one most people walk out of the drugstore with. Next part, we'll cover which formulation to pick, the dose the research used, and the safety beats you need to know before you start. Here's the protocol the research actually backs. Start with the bottle. If you're buying plain turmeric or curcumin, the label needs to list piperine or BioPerine. 5 milligrams of piperine alongside a standardized curcumin extract is the floor. The Shoba 1998 study used 20 milligrams of piperine with 2 grams of curcumin. Most modern formulations include between 5 and 10 milligrams. If your bottle has 0 piperine and 0 formulation name, put it back on the shelf. If you want the formulations researchers actually use in clinical trials, look for one of 4 names on the label: Meriva, which is curcumin phytosome; Theracurmin, which is the nanoparticle, BCM95, which is the essential oil complex, or Longvida, which is the solid lipid particle. The 2011 Cuomo trial used 500 to 1,000 milligrams a day of Meriva. The 2010 Belcaro registry in osteoarthritis used 200 milligrams a day of Meriva, equivalent to a much higher dose of plain curcumin, and the patients showed improvement in pain and walking distance. The 2014 San Mucani trial used 1,000 milligrams a day of BCM95 for 6 weeks in adults with major depressive disorder. The response rates were comparable to fluoxetine in that small trial. That is not a depression treatment claim. That is one randomized trial showing comparable response in 60 patients. Quick note before we go further. This is research, not medical advice. The numbers come from studies, not a prescription. Talk to your doctor before adding anything new, especially if you're on medication. And this is where the safety beats matter most. The 2017 Bahram Sultani review in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology lays them out. Curcumin interacts with blood thinners. If you're on warfarin, rivaroxaban, clopidogrel, or even daily aspirin, curcumin can add to the bleeding risk. Do not stack it on your own. Curcumin can also lower blood sugar. If you're on insulin or metformin, that interaction matters and your doctor needs to know. And if you have active gallbladder disease or gallstones, curcumin stimulates bioflow and can make the situation worse. The label rarely says any of this. Your prescriber needs to hear about anything you are adding. Then the timing. Curcumin is fat-soluble. The 2016 daily meta-analysis in the Journal of Medicinal Food and most of the bioavailability trials had subjects take the dose with a meal, not on an empty stomach. The practical version is simple. Take your curcumin with a meal that has real fat in it: eggs, avocado, olive oil, nuts, salmon. Even the bioavailable formulations absorb better with fat alongside them, not with black coffee, not on an empty stomach. The Meriva and Longvida formulations are designed around phospholipids and lipids, and they work even better when the meal itself carries fat. So the full picture. If you want the budget version, look for a standardized curcumin extract with piperine on the label and take it with a fat-containing meal. If you want the formulation the studies actually used, look for Meriva, Theracurmin, BCM95, or Longvida by name and take it the same way. Either way, talk to your doctor first if you're on a blood thinner, on diabetes medication, or have gallbladder issues. And speaking of fat-soluble compounds, if you want the version of this lesson for the cooking oil most people are using wrong, check out our video on the olive oil most people are getting wrong. The link is in the description below. This is research, not medical advice. Talk to your doctor before changing anything.